got to move on, so we're moving on to Jeff Hahn from BG Wagonmaster. So Jeff, I met recently through LinkedIn. Obviously, Thiago is a long-standing supporter of the show, and we also have another member of the BG team on the call. So Jeff, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody hear me okay? All good on the audio?
You bet.
Awesome. Okay, so yeah, my name's Jeff Hahn. I'm with BG Products. You probably know us as a chemical provider and supplier, and a strong one at that. We're currently partnered up with about 54% of franchise dealers in the US and Canada. So real strong footprint there. Me specifically, what I do is the Smart BMA digital menu solution. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. I focus specifically on the Western US and Canada. Obviously, a lot of our go-to-market strategy has changed with COVID, and we're doing a lot more remote selling and setups and things like that. But you know, out in the field, working in the drive with advisors, working with service managers to tailor their offerings are the things that I typically do. And in the last 18 months alone, I've helped set up over 200 dealers with our Smart BMA program. So yeah, super excited and happy to join the show, the AutoHubShow. Thanks Ian and Jeff and Bob at Wagonmaster for inviting me to be here. And are you seeing my screen? You're seeing it, right? Everything's good?
You bet.
I just need an oil change. You know, for me, this is what I wanted to highlight today because it's probably the #1 thing your service advisors hear on a daily basis is, I just need an oil change. And coming up with strategies for how to deal with that, how to turn it into more of a profitable retention business is really what we feel like we have opportunity to bring to the table with Smart BMA and also the BG product line. So first, let's talk about what we're seeing in terms of market dynamics and the pandemic, which obviously some interesting stuff has happened. You know, in good times, I think we all maybe get a little bit lazy and are happy to harvest what's coming in the door. But when things get tough, we have to really start digging deep and figuring out, what are we going to do to get through this. In April, which is really when we saw the whole month of COVID, we saw that car counts dropped by 50% in a lot of cases. And the interesting thing, though, is we actually saw CPRO numbers go up. And we're talking, these are stats from DealerFX and Automotive News. January and February, the average revenue CPRO was $243. But in April, it actually rose by $35 to $278. So what did that come from? Well, it was two things. Service advisors had more time to spend with their customers. I think in dealerships, we got back to basics a little bit and said, you know what, that menu that we haven't been presenting consistently, it's got to happen every time, right? And so we got some management and some emphasis on that. But then also we had a real turn toward the MPI as well, and multi-point inspections had to get better so that we could do more work on the cars that were coming in. So those two things combined really showed us what we have the capability of doing if we really strap in and focus on menu presentations in the drive and MPI process to get more out of each visit. So there's your slide that didn't fly for some reason. Anyway, so back to oil changes. What we're seeing in oil changes is in August, now that we're here, oil changes are back to business as usual. RO counts are back up where they were, if not close. And the average dollars have gone back down. So all of that extra work that we learned how to do, those good habits that we started have now sort of diminished. It's like the ocean, it goes and it comes. And it really takes a lot of focus to stay up on it. So advisors are spending less time with the customers. 70-80% of the ROs are just an LOF customer. Management is more putting out fires and dealing with the day-to-day. And dealers are moving away from the concierge services, getting the car there, spending the extra time, all that stuff, that really causing the growth or the staying level that we saw in April. And so, of course, this was a slide that you've probably seen a million times, but cars are getting better, lower cost of ownership. It's being preached on the sales side of the business. And people really truly believe now that oil change is the only service. So what we're suggesting at BG is a couple of different things. So two-pronged approach to deal with your I just want an oil change customer. And the first is to know your oil change business. We highly recommend doing a market analysis, especially now since things have changed so much over the last few months. Do a detailed analysis. Try to figure out where your oil change business fits in compared to the mass merchants and the quick lube oil change type of business. When we look at the way that we think about oil changes, we've always thought, hey, this is just it's a loss leader, get them in the door. And the reality is 70% of customers still continue to defect post warranty. So, the guys that are out there still doing first 2 years of oil changes for free. A lot of the OEMs pushing that is, again, just converting customers to think, I don't need to pay, I don't need to buy anything. And so we've got to come up with strategies to deal with that, right? All right, so what do we do? So we do our market analysis, and we're suggesting as BG products to find a differentiator other than just price. So we definitely want to be competitive with price, but what we're suggesting is let's add an MOA to every oil change. And if you're not familiar with BG products, MOA is our number one product. It's our key engine oil additive. And when you add that to the repair order, it comes with BG lifetime protection. So now your customer's vehicle not only has factory warranty and any extended warranty coverage that they've purchased on the vehicle, but also as long as they put our additive in, that gives them an extra layer of protection up to $4,000. And basically, as long as they do that every 10,000 miles, they can continue with that coverage indefinitely. There's no limit to it. So a really cool way to sort of differentiate your oil change from the guys up the street. So the market analysis, we did this with a Honda dealer, and what we found is actually our Honda dealer was able to be very, very competitive in terms of pricing. They were at $79.95 for a synthetic oil change, which was right in the mix of the Valvolines, the Jiffy Lubes, and everybody else who's in the business. But they were including the MOA in that oil change pricing, which it may take a little chunk out of the profit part, but that customer retention, knowing they're coming back, knowing they want to maintain that lifetime protection coverage, and just offering it. We've seen dealers at a level of 60 and 70% penetration, rolling a program like this to market. So this is a large dealer group that we're working with. They're sort of scattered all across the United States, but tons of Honda stores, tons of Toyota stores. And what you're seeing is the LOF penetration and then the percent usage of MOA is extremely strong and off the charts, and customers are buying into it. They're seeing a consistent offering with our menu program, which we'll get into next, and the customers are buying into that lifetime protection program, keeping those vehicles coming back in.
John, sorry, Jeff, I got a quick question for you from the audience. First of all, your mic cutting in and out. I think it may be because it's next to your shirt.
Yeah, I'll hold it up. Sorry.
Why are some dealers reluctant to add MCA to every oil change? Is that MOA or MCA?
MOA.
MOA.
Yeah, MOA. So the only reason a dealer would be reluctant to do it is, if they're getting pressure from the OEM saying that they're not going to help them with warranties if it's put in under warranty, and that's something that we've had to overcome for a very long time. But the fact is, a manufacturer can't tell a customer that they can't have a product that they want in their vehicle and void a warranty.
So why would the manufacturer want to do that then?
Because what they're trying to do is keep the cost of ownership low, keep aftermarket products from being sold. and you know, they're just wanting it to be done their way, essentially.
And yet they want dealerships to build Taj Mahals on low profit.
Yeah. Nothing but oil changes and air filters, right? That's all you need.
Yeah.
Maybe a plug or two.
So what kind of objections would you hear in the drive as you're training advisors that don't sell your products on a regular basis?
I don't know. I think advisors are all for it. You know, they're, especially when you put a tool in their hands like our digital menu tool that I'm going to get to in a second here.
Right.
It really gives them an easy platform, an easy way to display it and recommend it to the customer without having to pick it out of the lineup of things they want to offer. You know, it just kind of packages things together nicely for them so that they can simplify their word track and not have to spend 5 minutes talking about each line in the menu, if you will.
Okay.
So we'll get to that in a second, I think,
Okay. No.
and cover that even further. Okay, so from loaf to preventative maintenance, that's kind of where we're going in terms of what we call juice in the BG world. And so juice, you know, what we're talking about is moving product, and the juice is intended not to be juice for health that we're seeing here on the screen. It's intended to be the MOAs, the fuel additives, the EPR, the cleaners, and the conditioners that we offer that I consider menu-driven pour products. So these menu-driven pour products, we tend to see a massive increase in terms of the sell-through if we can implement a program such as our digital menu program. So what Smart VMA is it's a system where in the drive, and you can offer this in a multitude of ways. It's very flexible. You can do it on an iPad. You can do it out at the car. You can do it back at your advisor station on the screen. You could even go and print them out and do them on paper. But integrating this into the service drive, all you have to do is plug in a VIN number, and we can pull up a vehicle-specific menu for that vehicle with sort of a good, better, best thought in mind, where your customer can be offered all the options and they can look at that, review it while you're doing your walk around or other checks on the vehicle to get it written up, and basically put the power in their hands to say, okay, I want to get this, that, or the other. And then when questions come from the offering on the menu, the service advisor just basically responds and talks about the items that are in question, and you know, it really simplifies the program. It streamlines things in the dealership. There's a ton of back-end reporting where you can identify habits of your service advisors. You know, certain service advisors may be striking a specific service every single time off of the menu, and it may just be because they're weak in that subject. They don't understand what the product is or how to sell it. And as a BG rep, I can go into the reporting and identify that somebody is striking, say, a fuel induction service consistently. Now I know that when I come in the next time to see that dealership, I should spend 5 minutes with that advisor and talk to them about a fuel induction service, maybe even perform a demonstration on their vehicle so they can feel the difference of the benefit to their vehicle, and really get them comfortable with the word tracks and the way to speak about the service to the customer. So it's a whole process where once we implement it, we can identify maybe some gaps in the consistency. You know, as you go from advisor A, who's been there for 3 weeks, to advisor B, who's been there for 15 years, that customer experience is going to be very different. Where this can streamline it, it can make it more consistent from one to the next, and it offers everything that you have to offer. Where a lot of times, if a customer comes in and says, I want the works package, the advisor just says, oh, okay, let's write you up for the works package and get you out the door. You know, and integrating this into that process is what takes your juice numbers and really cranks them up. So here's some results, real world results of a couple of different stores, several different OEMs. And what we're talking about here is just a 1 month sample, okay, of what the number of BG cans and kits that are what we call those menu-driven products. So you take a look at that and you go, okay, a Toyota store, 2,200 CPROs. The one on the top, store A there, consistent presentations, they sold 1,552 kits that month. Our store B only made 28 presentations. They sold 261 kits. Massive, massive increase. You're talking this Ford store, you know, a much smaller Ford store in the top row, 1,000 BG services versus store B, not doing well with the menu presentations, you know, and it's like this every single store. And we have the ability to drill down and look at the real world sell through of these products. The stores that consistently present menus sell usually 30 to 40% more total labor gross in terms of just the maintenance products. And you're talking, you know, sometimes 100% more in terms of these menu driven products. It's crazy.
Question for you, Jeff. Selling more things in service makes the store and hopefully the advisor money. What's the other upside for doing this as a standard operating procedure for an advisor, for example?
Well, it just makes the process easier for them. It's obviously job security because their numbers go up. They're stronger in the eyes of all the reporting. But for the customer, once they get a taste of the BG Lifetime Protection Plan, once they understand that maintaining the vehicle and sort of are trained into the fact that maintaining your vehicle is less expensive than fixing it in the long run, all of that comes together to where the advisor, you know, now they're making more money, they're more consistent, their techs love them because they're selling more stuff that the MPI doesn't have to come through and hammer them with the entire batch after the fact, right? So, you know, I would say it's just that. It's just, you know, it improves their entire quality of life at the dealership from revenue perspective and, you know, just enjoying their job.
In your opinion, what percentage of dealerships successfully sell aftermarket products in the service track?
Well, we've got roughly 1,200 that are currently enrolled in Smart VMA. Not every single one of them does as well as these stores that we highlighted, obviously. But what we've seen is a consistent 30 to 40% increase when we take a store from not on the digital menu program to on the digital menu program.
And why don't more dealers do it if it's such a successful thing for the ones who do?
Well, it's a fairly technical program. It does take a little bit of work on the setup end. And getting the knowledge out there of what's available is probably the biggest challenge. You know, I think our BG reps that are out in the field do a great job of talking about it, but not all of them are as integrated into the digital menu side of it. They're great with the on-card demos, the product knowledge, all of that kind of stuff. But this is sort of a different animal here. And we've been adding more and more staff to support this program with Smart VMA. I'm now one of 6 guys in the US and Canada that this is all we do every day is setting up digital menu programs. So all the BG reps have to do now is go out and find a great opportunity, you know, a dealer who already believes in our products and programs, that we can roll this program in and take them from being a good BG customer to a great BG customer. And
so if a dealer has, say, Dealer Effects or X-Time or a kiosk, can this be added to those?
Yes, absolutely. And as far as kiosk goes, that is a new product that we'll be launching fairly soon. I would say it'll be out maybe just after the first of the year. We're already locking in pilot stores, so we will have our own program for that.
Okay.
What was the other one that you mentioned, though?
So let's say I'm a Honda store, I'm a Toyota store, I'm a Ford store. I'm using either X-Time from Cox or I'm using Dealer Effects.
Yeah.
Can I add these other products into that system? I mean, I work for Dealer Effects. I'm pretty familiar with theirs, and I'm familiar with X-Time as well. But could I add the BG products to the menu I'm already using?
Yeah, so typically our system goes in alongside one of those other solutions, and it's usually because those solutions are more of what I would call a price list than a VIN-specific menu system where you can get very detailed and offer the good, better, best and all of that stuff. So there's so much more flexibility with ours that most dealerships, and I would say probably 50% of our dealerships use X-Time for their check-in process.
Yeah.
So going out to the vehicle with an iPad, they're checking in the vehicle at the car on their iPad, and then they just flip to a separate tab, present our menu, and carry on in the process. So it's a pretty seamless process to utilize multiple tools. Ours just does the best of the menu side, and so that's where it's sort of found its niche.
And what kind of support and education would you provide to a selling dealer that maybe is challenged with, getting their service team to embrace this kind of stuff?
Yeah, so we can show all kinds of reporting up front to get them bought into the results side of it. We've got a really cool dashboard report. We have an iPhone app where you can look at your presentation percentages, penetration, all that kind of stuff. So there's a ton of information to get them in on that end and seeing what the results will be. But then beyond that, we've got the ability to go in there with our network of BG guys out there in the field who, they already know the account. They already are good, have great relationships with their dealerships. And they can go in there and do the training of the on the drive, sit with them for a day in certain cases, especially when we launch. And, work on the word tracks, work on the way that we're presenting, making sure that we're offering everything without being pushy, and allowing the customer to choose what they want.
Cool. And could you stop the share? And since it's the time, I just got a couple of slides to go over. Was there any questions from the audience?
Yep.
Actually, I see there's a question here. How do you see smart VMA checking in customers that prefer to do it by themselves?
So that's why we are coming out with the kiosk option. So, I've had a couple of dealers attempt to, take our menu and offer it to the customer and say, okay, pick which one you want. And it hasn't been as successful as you might think, just because I think when customers sometimes look at our full menu package, they see too many things and need to be coached on what they mean. So that's where our module for our kiosk is going to be a much more simplified version of what Smart VMA is. It's going to be just, less offerings in there, simpler to read, a lot more graphical view, rather than kind of the line-by-line menu type of setup that we have on the other.
And I actually have a question to follow up on that. Kiosks, do you kind of see it to be the almost the enemy of what we're trying to do here?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a real challenge. I've seen some really funny posts on LinkedIn, like when GoMoto was really hot at the beginning. You'd see a post and then a fixed ops director would say, hey, great, a Mickey Mouse tool for a Mickey Mouse service department that can get customers. And, honestly, I believe that, there is a place for it, and there are some high volume stores where it's going to help. But really, if we could go the other direction and continue the job of better training our service advisors, better refining our processes at the dealership, and building that personal relationship with the customer, that's going to take us further than a kiosk ever will.
Perfect. Terrific.
Was there any other questions from the audience? And since it's the time, Jeff?